well, I'll stand, because I know this is your better ear, right? This is your better ear, right? This one here?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, all right. Tell me the history of how you got involved in writing the screenplay for the movie. Was this sort of a condition of the sale, or did you volunteer, or how did that come about?
No, that has nothing to do with it. I want to teach you a lesson in love. Back in 1950, I published a novel, The Martian Chronicle, and Gene Kelly, the great dancer, read it and asked a friend to bring me to his house. So I went to see Gene Kelly, and he told me how much he loved Martian Chronicles. I said, Mr. Kelly, right back at you, because you just made the greatest musical in the history of the world. He said, what? I said, Singing in the Rain is the greatest musical ever made, and you made it, and I love you for it. And he was stunned, and I said, on top of that, it's a science fiction musical. He said, what? I said, it's about the invention of sound, how sound was invented and changed Hollywood and changed the world. So I became very good friends with Gene Kelly, and I went to his house all the time. I had dinner with him, I had lunch with him, I went to screenings with him. He invited me to the studio to see some of his new films. And walking home one night from seeing one of his films, I turned to my wife and I said, my God, I would love to write something for Gene Kelly because I love that man so much. So my wife said, take something out of the file, turn it into a screenplay for him, and give it to him, and maybe he'll like it. So I went to my file and I found a short story called The Black Ferris, which I had published in Weird Tales. I got $15 for it. I was very rich, huh? So I took that story and turned it into an 85-page screenplay called The Dark Carnival. And I took it to Gene Kelly and I gave it to him, and he read it. He says, my God, this is a great story. I want to do this as my next film. May I take it to London and Paris and try to get some money? I said, take it. And he came back a month later. He said, I'm sorry, Ray, there's no money. I said, don't tell me you're sorry. I'm so glad that you tried. So he gave me back the screenplay, and I spent 3 years turning it into a novel called Something Wicked That's What Comes. So So the book was published in 1962, and nobody paid any attention to it until 1972, and 20th Century Fox and Sam Peckinpah came along, and they had me do a screenplay of it, which was 180 pages. It was too long, and they did nothing with it. And then Paramount came along with Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas was a never very good friend, and he paid to have a new screenplay made, and cutting it down from 180 pages to 120 pages. And when that was done, Paramount rejected it. They had a big fight there between the producers. Some loved it, some hated it. So I left Paramount Studios, and finally Disney came back with a new chance to do the film. So I had a meeting with the director of the film that was going to be made, and he handed me a new screenplay. Behind my back, they'd had it revised by the screenwriter who did a big TV project, and he changed it. He knew nothing about fantasy. And I looked at the screenplay, and I brought 25 suggestions to the new producer, Jack, and he gave my criticisms, and he threw them back at me. He said, completely unacceptable. So that was the end of my friendship with the new director of Something Wicked This Way Comes. So I kept warning the studio they were going to make a film that wouldn't work. And I went on the set almost every day for 6 months. I watched them doing everything wrong. I kept warning them. I said, don't do this. It's not gonna work. Things are missing. So they finished the film, and we had a preview one night. I had my family there, all of my daughters and my wife, and all my friends, and we ran the film, and it was no good. No good, no good. And the audience was dead. No applause, nobody liked it. And my daughters called me the next morning, and they said, Daddy, what's gonna happen next? I said, I don't know, but I'm waiting for the studio to call me. So 3 days later, the studio called me and said, Ray, will you come in? I said, yeah, I sure as hell will. And I went into the office of the head of the studio. He said, don't tell us you told us so. I said, there's no time for that. Put me in charge. Let me write the narration, get rid of the music. The music is no good. Throw all the music out, get a new composer, and do a new score for the film. Let me edit the film for you. It's too long. Let me meet with the film editors, and because there's a lot that doesn't work, I'll cut that out of the film. And there are missing scenes, I'll put the back scenes for you. So I became the director of the film. and we spent $5 million more with me directing it. And at the end of 6 months, we put on the new film version. And by God, the damn thing worked. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. There are still things that are missing. We couldn't do everything. There are a lot of things I still like to do in the future to this film. But what you're seeing tonight is the film that I directed finally. And my name's not in the credits, but by God, I did it. And I hope you like it, and I think it's a good time for me to quit. Thank you very much.
What can you say? Oh, yeah.
Right.
Those kids out of college know better.
God bless you. Oh, yeah, thank you. There
Thank you.
Good night, Ray. Thank you so much for everything. All of your wonderful
Timing's
stories.
good.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
All right.